Hey, what's going on, guys? Kalamazi here, and today I want to talk about the explosive potential nerfs and demo fixes that are coming in patch 8.1.5. Now, before we get too far into that, if you're interested in any of the weak ORs or add-ons you see here, I'll have a link to my Twitch and Discord in the description below where you can find them all. Now, in case you missed it, they're effectively reducing the amount of haste you gain from explosive potential by about 35%, which will be live on March 12th, which is when patch 8.1.5 releases. It was also discovered later on in the night that they did indeed fix the Felguard energy bug that was still in game, as well as the implosion spam demonic tyrant bug, which will most likely end up shifting our opener around a bit. Now, we all knew that an EP nerf was coming sooner or later, and the fact that it's lasted all the way up until now is actually shocking in itself. If we take into account the other two issues that are also being addressed this patch and the Felguard bug and implosion spam bug, however, this is a bigger hit to Demonology than everyone had initially thought with just EP being hit. Let's dive a bit deeper into these changes and what they actually mean. So first, looking at the explosive potential nerf, we all knew this was coming at some point. Demonology is easily hands down the highest single target DPS spec in the game, while also bringing a great deal of stacked AoE burst to groups. On live servers with triple EP, I'm sitting right around 50% haste, while on PTR, which already has the changes implemented, I'm around 36% haste, which is a change that can certainly be felt. One of the most noticeable differences here is that our demonic tyrant now gets in anywhere from 1 to 2 less casts per cycle most of the time. You can see in these brief DPS comparisons from both live servers and PTR a bit of a difference in average damage across both normal and critical hits. While this is unfortunate, demonic consumption is still a very strong option talent-wise, allowing for very strong burst windows every minute and a half. If you look even closer here at the actual damage contribution from other abilities, however, the change to Felguard's Legion Strike is very noticeable. Over roughly a 2-minute encounter, Legion Strike dealt roughly 140k less damage on PTR than it did on live servers, with its actual contribution percent dropping off by around 3%. While this is a change that certainly can be seen in single target scenarios, this is the biggest change that will be felt as well in AoE based scenarios such as Reaping or large trash pulls in Mythic Plus, seeing as how Legion Strike deals damage to all enemies in front of the Felguard and not just one mob. In addition to those two changes, there was also another bug fix in the most recent PTR build that addresses the implosion spam with demonic tyrant interaction that is still on live servers currently. Previously, if you were to spam implosion while actually casting your demonic tyrant, you will be able to double dip in a sense with your active imps, thus refreshing your EP buff while your tyrant also consumed them all for the damage increase. With this now being fixed on PTR, it will end up altering the actual opener a bit so that you will have the EP buff once your tyrant is cast and then go right into Hand of Gul'dan, a GCD, and then implosion, thus refreshing the EP buff before it falls. There is still a bug present, however, on PTR, where if you spam implosion in the same fashion as before, you still have a chance of generating demonic core stacks in the same way we did EP. There's a lot more RNG tied into this obviously, but it's still worth doing. This even further solidifies Baleful Invocation as a trait that you really want for Demonology, but that's mostly old news. I ended up shifting my actual opener from the one we currently follow on live servers to this on PTR. I would precast Demon Bolt into Hand of Gul'dan, Demonic Strength, and then Soul Strike. I would then implode for the EP buff and build the 5 shards, cast Hand of Gul'dan again, build back to 5, cast Call Dreadstalkers, and then implode. After that, you build back to 5 shards and cast Hand, Soul Strike or Shadow Bolt, Hand, Berserking Balefire, and then either Tyrant or one final Hand and then Tyrant if you have any remaining shards left by a Soul Conduit. If you get any demonic core procs beforehand, you can weave them in for an extra set or so of imps as well. This rotation allows for you to summon your demonic tyrant, extending Dreadstalkers while also maintaining your EP buff throughout. It's also important to then go right into Hand of Gul'dan, followed by a GCD, which is typically Shadow Bolt, and then implosion again to keep your EP buff up once you summon your tyrant. I'm still messing with the actual opener, but EP management is going to certainly be a much bigger factor in 8.1.5 with the bug no longer being present. So, some of the bigger questions are, what does this mean for raids, what does this mean for Mythic Plus, and is EP still a good trait? Well, as far as Mythic Plus goes, I still feel that Demonology will be the best spec that we have for it, even after the changes. The fact of the matter is that even before EP was a thing, which means before the EP bug and decon were things as well, Demonology was still very strong in Mythic Plus. Sure, the Legion Strike fix will hurt a bit, but we still bring a great deal of AoE burst with Bombers, Implosion, and Grimoire Felguard if you've chosen the talent. Demonic Consumption is still only a minute and a half cooldown, which is a massive difference from the 3-minute CDs that Destruction and Affliction bring with them as well. If an interrupt is needed, you can still swap to your Fel Hunter for one boss or a pack or so as well, so the utility is technically still there. As far as rating goes, I personally do still feel that Demo is going to be a solid option once you accept the fact that we won't be ahead of everyone by 3 or 4k DPS. You will feel all the changes that we're receiving when it comes to rating, but as mentioned before, Consumption is still a strong option and it's only on a minute and a half cooldown compared to both Affliction and Destruction. In the same sense of how Destruction is strong on a lot of fights with priority cleave or ads present, Demonology brings a lot to certain fights like Mythic Jaina, where your minute and a half cooldown is very important at certain points of the fight, which is something that Destruction and Affliction just can't do at times. There are certainly positives and negatives to each, but at the end of the day, I do still feel that Demonology will be a fine choice. We won't have 1 million Tyrants anymore, but the burst damage we bring will still be strong. So I suppose the biggest question is explosive potential still good? The answer is yes. EP is still a great trait. It was not nerfed into the absolute ground, and it's still something that you're going to want to look at for 2 or 3 stacks on your gear. As mentioned, I'm still gaining over 20% passive haste from triple EP on PTR after the changes, and while the difference can certainly be felt, it's still a very powerful trait. The nerfs as a whole also do bring Demonology closer to the other 2 specs, which means that triple ID Affliction might end up being the strongest overall choice for certain fights, like Mechatorque, and Destruction's toolkit is most likely strong enough with certain trait combinations to create a real argument again on certain fights. I mean, let's be honest here, Demonology was so strong, it was effectively best on every single fight in BOD, with BOD being a multi-dot, multi-target, ad cleave based raid. We would literally ignore ads or other priority targets half the time due to the sheer fact that our single target damage was so strong and our CDs were so powerful. Even though Demo's getting a nerf, overall it was warranted, and I do still feel that Demo will be in a solid place come 8.1.5. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope this video gave you all a better understanding of the Demonology changes that are coming in 8.1.5. Don't forget that we still have about 2 weeks to play with Demonology in its current form on live servers, as the patch does not hit until March 12th or the 13th if you're EU. Let me know what you think of the changes in the comments below, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'll be sure to get back to you. If you want to see more WoW content and help support the channel, smash those like, share, and subscribe buttons, as your support really helps. Thanks guys, and I'll see you all again soon. Peace.